Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Best Bets Show here. The three-man weave Saturday morning set you up slate. Yes, it is Spinny Saturday. Thank you, Kai, for getting it going. It is just Kai and old Jimbo today. Matthew remains under the weather. He claims
Boo.
his voice is unable to satisfy the needs of a vocal
Mm,
medium.
mm.
So hopefully he participates glowingly in the chat. Feel free to harass him there. Yes, Yoshi is photographed, pictured for those watching on video. Well, that's it. We're here. Kai and I are both here to take you through 133 games. We've got some best bets. Kai, do you want to give any look back at the week kind of takeaways? It's always tougher when we pod the day before and there's not much happening on Friday.
Jim, I have no takeaways, but I have one plea for all of you out there. Join the GOAT Conference Tournament pool. If you're not familiar, it is a pool that Stuckey and another guy named Tom put on. They've been doing it for a long time. Jim and I have been helping behind the scenes to get it set up this season. We had over 500 entries last year. It's awesome. You pick the winner of every game. There are benefits to picking upsets, of course, at the risk of picking an upset and not winning. You pick every single champion. It is the best conference pool I've ever been a part of. It's awesome. It's $100 if you feel so inclined to join. The link is in the description. Read all the rules. It takes you to a Google Doc. Join. It's fantastic. There's over 350 entries right now, hoping to get another 500 total before it tips off on Monday. So that's my plug, Jim.
Love it, Kai. I think I've been doing it for 10 or 15 years. It's the best. It
Long time.
just makes you care about so many games. You're frustrated about the 5 versus 12 game in the Coastal Athletic Tournament. It's great. It's a grind, but it's for true fans, and it really ramps up the importance of Champ Week, which is already fantastic. So yeah, get in that. Also join the burner, but we'll plug that before the chat mob
We will.
section. So not quite yet. All right, let's get into the games. Big slate today. The SEC, as usual, providing some heavyweight matchups. And we'll start in Knoxville, Thompson Bowling Arena, Vols, Rocky Top. Alabama heads to Tennessee. Rather large battle for potential one seed. I think Tennessee definitely on the outside looking in that conversation right now. Alabama a slight favorite to be a one seed. But today, Tennessee is -4 on the betting line. 159, Kai, is the total. I spoiled to you that I have a best bet on this game before we got
Mhm.
on air. I'm going to wait. I'm going to keep that in my holster until you give me your thoughts on this game.
What a game, Jim, is how I'm going to start this one off. SEC's number one offense, SEC's number one defense, two top six teams. And you mentioned the one seed angle to this. Tennessee needs this win to stay in the top four of the SEC tournament. That's huge. It's a double bye, very important in the tournament setting. Tough game though for me to pick here. Tennessee's defense is great. It's disciplined. It stays home. You would think that Bama can take advantage of that by hitting threes, but this Tennessee team's won the last 3 games against Alabama. In theory, they should extend more, and that would hurt their defense. It really hasn't the last 3 games. They're well aware of how to defend the three-point barrage, the transition barrage. Only 15 teams in the country allow less transition than Tennessee. It's a very good defense. Alabama's defense, not great, but I think they will heavily deny Tennessee's shooters on the perimeter. That's kind of been the Vols' lifeblood offensively, aside from their usual physicality. I kind of lean Bama, Jim, at 4. I think maybe a better look is first half Bama if you want the side. High firepower squads tend to punch this Tennessee team in the mouth a little bit until the Vols crockpot them in the second half, at least in my Missouri experience, Jim. So lean towards Alabama ever so slightly.
Vandy did it too.
Yeah.
So I think you might be a little bit onto something. The speed sometimes gets to them. You mentioned the past matchups. Alabama has lost the past 3. They have not covered the past 4, and they've only covered 2 of the 7 since Nate Oates arrived. The trend I like here, the matchup between these two, is that 6 of the last 7, 6 of the 7 Barnes versus Oates matchups have gone under. I'm going to ride with that under 159 and take that as a best bet. I think there's something to that with the transition defense that Kai is talking about, the big physical athletes that Tennessee brings to bear on you. I think that's going to make it really tough for that rim and 3 attack to get to the rim. And then they're left to take some of those really tough threes late in the shot clock. It's kind of gotten them in the past. Those 7 games have stayed under by an average of 9 points. Like these are not
A
dancing
lot.
right on the total. It's been well under, and I think Tennessee just has a solid read on how to defend this Bama team, especially at Tennessee, where they're allowed to play a little bit more physical. Them and Texas A&M, I think, are just kind of like a little bit different animal at home because they can brawl you. That it gets officiated slightly differently. You saw the separation between the at Florida and at Tennessee matchups of those two teams. I think that was telling in how physical Tennessee can play at home. So I think this one stays under. Even last year stayed under when Tennessee was running up and down with Dalton Connect. So this year when they're playing a little slower, they're bottom 15 in the country in tempo. Bama is number one. I think it's easier to slow a team down at home. So I'm going to go with the under 159 as a best bet there.
Love it.
To the other big game, one of the other big games in the SEC, there are plenty today. Auburn, number one in the country, heads on the road to Kentucky. I believe it was Jeff Goodman that pointed out on Twitter that last year Alabama lost at Kentucky. It was kind of a frustrating, or no, it was in 2019, excuse me, when they went to the Final Four. Lost to Kentucky, ended up rallying, beat Kentucky in that run to the Final Four in the big dance. But now Kai, number one team, is a -5 favorite on the road. Big old total, 167. No surprise here with the offenses involved. Jackson Robinson out. Lamont Butler in. How does that sway your thoughts and your look at this game?
Fading the best team in the country, Jim, is not what I like to do. That's Auburn. Faded them at your own risk. Yeah, Kentucky injuries, you said it, appeared to be healthy last game, and then Robinson got hurt again. Very unfortunate. This team's kind of snake bitten this season. I don't think Kentucky stops them. Auburn could easily put up 100 points in this game. They have too many weapons. They play too fast. Amari Williams on Broome is intriguing, but I think Broome is still more mobile. Obviously the best player in the country with the flag. I think he's still going to be a tough stop for Kentucky, even though Amari Williams theoretically has a pretty good matchup with him. Auburn's defense, of course, great. Deny the three, plenty of size, mobility, versatility. It is a bit of a toss-up to me at 5. Kentucky can beat anyone, even without Robinson. They've proven that. But again, I don't want to fade Auburn. And with Robinson out, it's a clear stay away from me.
Yeah, Kentucky hasn't really been like a titan at home. They lost to Bama, they lost to Arkansas. They've almost been somewhat better away from there. Like they've got some good road wins. They just had that dramatic win against Oklahoma. They beat Duke on a neutral floor. I think I'm not scared of Rupp Arena in this game. Auburn's offense against the defense that can get leaky, even with Butler back. Like he's a great on-ball guy, but are you really going to be stopping anybody on the wing? I kind of have a gut sense that Owe has a little bit of a letdown game. I think he was pretty fired up for the game at Oklahoma. Had 21 of their final 23, including the game winner. It's still obviously a huge game with number one coming to town, but it's just kind of a gut sense there. Does Chad Baker-Mazara get into it with the fans?
Yes.
That probably happens. Does Kentucky have enough of a crap disturber? Maybe that's Owe. He was really chirping against Oklahoma. But if you can get under Baker-Mazara's skin, that's kind of a good route to go here against this Auburn team. But Broome looks like himself again, like shooting well from inside the arc. He kind of had a stretch after he came back from the ankle injury where he didn't look right. And he seems to be fully back, cruising there. Another big shot for him to hopefully tilt the player of the year odds towards himself. Get a road win on national TV at Rupp would certainly help that if he has a big game. I lean towards Auburn, lean towards the over. I could see it being a shootout-y type of game with both these offenses, but not fully sure where pace will settle, and I do like the Butler's back, so no best bet for me there. To Lawrence, Kansas, we go, where the Jayhawks have somewhat stabilized. Hunter Dickinson had a monster game against Colorado. Bill Self talked about how he plans to play a lot more through Dickinson down the stretch. First of all, Bill.
He wasn't already?
What's the point of having that guy on your team if you're not playing through him constantly? He's going to hurt your defense a little bit. He should be the alpha and omega of your offense when you have Harrison Adams running around outside next to him. But that is neither here nor there. The Jayhawks now laying 4.5 at home. Kai, on gut reaction, I like Texas Tech, but they've got the injury concerns. Chance McMillan, Darian Williams, neither of whom practiced this week, and I think McCaslin said he wanted to see them practice before he let them play. That concerns me enough that I'll probably sit this one out.
Yes, their injury status looms large, Jim. I think they're out, like you said. That's huge. KU at the Fog, different beast. This team doesn't give off good vibes right now, Kansas, despite their recent wins. But at the Fog, I think they're still a top-tier team in the country. Still a top-notch defensive team for sure. And Tech's going to be challenged to score. without their two starters. Harris, a terrific one-on-one defender against Hawkins. Adams, a good defender, topping probably the edge too with Adams' size deficiency compared to him, but still a good defender. Dickinson on Federico. I think they match up pretty well with Texas Tech on that end. Their offense, yeah, they're going through Hunter right now. That's what they have to do. McCasland, Texas Tech's coach, excellent game planner. I fully expect him to have something to take that away. But I do think the Fog gets it done for KU. It's wild, Jim, that a win keeps them in sixth place in the Big 12, so it's not like they're moving up the standings. They are getting closer towards climbing up the standings with the win. I do lean their way at 4.5, though.
Laying it.
Kansas laying 4.5. Yeah.
Yeah, Texas Tech gave a very strong effort against Houston without those guys, and they shot like crud from deep. But you're probably going to shoot poorly when two of your best shot creators and shot makers are both out. Like, I don't think they're going to shoot 20% again, but they've got to make shots to compete. Kansas defense is rock solid, and I could see Dickinson having his way with Federico and Toppin inside. They're just not as big as him, and if they're really going to focus on giving him the ball, he could have a big game there. Okay, the other big one in the Big 12 is at Hilton Coliseum, Hilton Magic, hoping to spark Iowa State here. Kai, the first meeting between these two was a riot of an affair. You had the full Caleb Love experience, could not make a shot all game. Then he hits a 55-footer to send it to overtime after Iowa State had taken control. Then Arizona wins in overtime as Love hits a couple shots. Now, Momcilovic did not play in that game. And notably, basically every stat was even. Both teams shot 51% from two. Rebounding was within one. Turnovers were within three. Iowa State now back home. A little bit of a tug of war in the market here. I saw as high as 6.5. It's now Iowa State minus 5.5. Total of 151. What do you think?
Yeah, I did notice too in that game one, the Clones 7 for 24 from three. They did have 18 turnovers to Arizona's 15. So yeah, a couple negatives for Iowa State in game one. Pretty clear why they lost. The Keyshawn Gilbert status is huge. So I assumed he was going to be out for this game, and maybe he still is. There's word that he's playing. I don't think that's actually confirmed. When that news broke, quote unquote news, again, not official, the line moved towards Iowa State. Towards Arizona. So 5.5. Went from 6 to 5.5. People bet on Arizona. That surprised me when Gilbert was announced in. Was expected to go the other way. I was actually ready to take Arizona 6.5. Was hoping it would get up to 7 because the market does like betting these home team spots. However, it's not there. I need at least 6 to take Arizona here. I believe too much in Hilton Magic. I do believe Arizona's been the much better team over the past month, and you can definitely see a Caleb Dud game in this one instead of a Caleb Love game like he did in Tucson not too long ago. Cats handle the rock. That's key against Iowa State, but again, Hilton Magic is too strong. Under 6, I'm staying away. Over 6, I'm leaning back towards Arizona.
Yeah, the Gilbert thing's interesting. I think the official, like Rothstein reported, he has a game time decision. There's an Iowa State blog saying he's back. I think it's true game time, and we're going to find out really close to tip off, and maybe we'll see a little more movement in the market at that point. I'm not sold. I will be very curious to see if he plays. So I still kind of like Iowa State, but them at full strength is really the version people fell in love with early in the year when they had their guards. They had Momcilovic space on the floor. Bigs have been really good. Jefferson's passing has helped a ton. I will note Arizona is now starting their 2 centers, basically, Awaka and Vesar together, and they are like a ridiculous offensive rebounding team with them on the floor together. But Iowa State can kind of compete there, so I don't think it'll be like a crazy overwhelming battle on the glass. So just one best bet for me in the first half there. The Alabama-Tennessee under. Okay, to Chat Mob we go, but before we do, as Kai rounds up all the questions, I'm going to give a quick plug to the Burner, the Discord that we are in with Trilly Donovan, doing basically this only via text every single day, talking all kinds of games, answering questions. There is a forum in there for proposing any game you want, asking if people have got any injury, inside information, or whatever. Just a daily bet channel. We've also just got a regular AMA channel. We're talking futures. Kind of a fun place to be right now with a lot of people cashing some conference regular season title futures. Go Chattanooga. Well done, South Alabama. A couple more that we're hoping for today and over the next week. But then you also have Trilly Donovan scoops on the coaching carousel, the transfer portal. You've got Kevin Sweeney and Eric Fawcett's film room. So get in there, check it out. It's definitely worth your $6 a month for any basketball junkie. And of course, with college basketball player movement coming up soon, That's when you want to be in there. And March Madness. It'll be fun. So sign up today. Link is in the video description. All right, Kai, what kind of games you got for us?
Let's do it, Jim. A lot of chat questions already. We love it. With a two-man, we can knock out a bunch today, I think. Again, Matt Cox is in the chat. He's going to chat with you a little bit, share his little unique inklings. A three-pack from Joey to start us off in the Big Ten. We got Maryland, Jim, heading to Penn State. The Terps coming off that half-court stunner by Michigan State, hitting the half-quarter to avoid overtime. They're laying 5 in the market, it looks like. I see 5.5 a couple places. Maryland at Penn State. Your thoughts?
I kind of loved Maryland here, and I got a little hesitant by Penn State's not fully dead for the Big Ten tournament. Like if they win out and get like 2 teams to lose out, they could make it. So I was hoping that would be like kind of dead man walking team, but they're not quite that. But I think Maryland bounces back. They've had some tough luck in close games lately. Their last 3 losses are like crazy shots near the buzzer. I just think the Terps are legit, Kai, and they've had a couple bummers, but I like them there. It feels weird backing them as a road favorite. It's been more of a home and College Park type of team, but they've kind of traveled well.
I agree, Jim. I agree. Oh, Matt likes Penn State. There you go. He's feisty. Minnesota at Nebraska. I lean towards the Gophers in this one, Jim. I respect Nebraska home for sure, but this Minnesota team is scrappy as a big dog. Have been all season in the Big Ten. Lean their way at 8. Nothing strong in that game. Quick opinion?
Yeah, Minnesota's still battling for the Big Ten tournament berth
Huge.
too. They're right in the mix down at the bottom there. I think that matters. Going to be alive, and I don't know. Maybe you get the cavalcade of Nebraska threes all going in after that gross game against Michigan, but I don't know. We'll see.
Similarly, I kind of lean towards USC in this next game, +7 at Oregon. Oregon coming off a massive win against Wisconsin. I believe that was their last game. Am I misremembering one in between? I think it was just Wisconsin coming back in overtime.
Yes, yeah. They had a week off.
Yeah, week off, coming back. I lean towards USC. I still don't think this Oregon team is all that great to be laying 7 points in conference play. They've definitely had their ups and downs. They play better up to competition. I like them better as a dog. I lean towards the Trojans here at 7.
Agreed.
Okay, from Matthew, Jim, not Matthew Cox, the other Matthew, you get the all-important ACC game, Miami, Florida, at North Carolina. Looks like the Canes have taken a little bit of money, down to 16 in most places. Big spread. Your thoughts?
Kind of lean Carolina, but I don't feel good about that. I don't want to lay it with them. But their offense has sort of figured things out. They've been scoring like crazy recently, and it looks like they've sort of righted the ship and have the eyes on potentially sneaking into the big dance. They probably can't do that without picking up a Q1 win, either against Duke or in the ACC tournament. So, yeah, I don't want to lay it. It scares me, Kai.
Sorry, total thoughts on that game, too? That was a specific question. 160-ish right now?
Yeah, I would lean over. I don't think the Miami defense is fixed. They have slowed things down a little, which hurts. But again, I just think the North Carolina offense has found its stride.
From Scott, man, I have no opinion in this game. TCU, UCF, 2 teams I really haven't had a great pulse on all year. I know the Frogs are playing a lot better. I prefer UCF way more at home. Frogs are laying 3.5, though. That's a clear stay away from me personally.
I lean TCU. UCF's kind of been dead man walking, but then they won their last 2 games against 2 other dead men walking, Utah and Kansas State. So lean TCU. They still got a little bit more to play for, in my opinion, but not strong either.
I'm obligated to go back to you because it's Cal Baptist, and they're laying 2 points against Utah Tech. This runs from Ted. Do you like your Lancers?
No. Dominique Daniels has missed the last 2. He is crucial for them. I know they competed against Grand Canyon without him. I think that was kind of a fluke. They got murdered by Seattle last game without him. Also, love the under if he's out. They cannot score. They don't have any perimeter creation if he is out. I saw somebody in the circuit contest took it as their best bet, and I was like, damn, that was really smart, because if he doesn't play, they don't have much guard play.
Yeah. Okay, 2-pack from Nick. I will take the Wright State IU Indy game. Jim, you get Norfolk, South Carolina State. I lean towards IU Indy. Wright State, you losing to Green Bay really gave me a sour taste in my mouth, and I just can't get over that. IU Indy still scrappy. I don't think the horizon, these 2 teams are playing for much right now. I have to look back at the conference scenarios, but still like IU Indy at home here. Lean towards them at 4. Not an official play for me. That's where my thoughts lie, Jim. Now you get Norfolk and South Carolina State. South Carolina State hosting Norfolk. A huge game in the MEAC. I think Norfolk pretty much wrapped up the conference, but South Carolina State still vying for, I think, the 2 seed in that league.
This one's kind of big because Norfolk ends with 3 road games, and if they drop this one, it'll be a 1 game separation. So maybe, a big deal. It's surprising to see Norfolk a dog in this conference, but
Hmm.
South Carolina State's been really good. I actually lean towards the Bulldogs keeping that close, that conference race close.
Love it. All right, ACC from Grant Gibbs fan club. Of course, we love Grant Gibbs. He was a fantastic player. Notre Dame plus 9.5 at Wake Forest. Yeah, man, I agree. 9.5 is huge. So, do you believe that Notre Dame is a totally dead team? Even with the Shrewsbury presser, it hasn't really amounted to much fire in this team. And then Wake Forest, a team that should not be probably laying this many points to anybody, and a team that's been so disappointing and lost 2 crucial games recently to Virginia and NC State. I lean towards the Irish at 9.5, Jim.
Yeah, just be careful with I know no Braden Shrewsbury, he's done, and Matalako's been out and kind of shelved himself. So shorthanded Notre Dame, but Wake Forest just lost. They got pummeled at home by Virginia. You can't lay double digits with them. I would definitely lean Notre Dame.
From Kyle, Butler and Villanova. Villanova's laying 7.5 at home against the Dogs. Thoughts?
Butler is not a team I've been tracking overly closely recently, just kind of a bottom Big East team. They've competed with like the lower half, but I don't know. I remember one of the guys in our Discord said he was impressed by how they competed at UConn. He's a UConn fan, just like, oh, Butler did not look like a team circling the drain. So maybe Thad still got him dialed in, and they can compete with Nova, but no strong take on that game.
We don't have the Beaver Whisper live right now, but Oregon State goes to St. Mary's. St. Mary's laying 11.5, 12.5, 12, depending where you look in the market right now. It's true St. Mary's does not have anything to play for from a seed perspective in the WCC tournament. I would argue, though, still, hey, you want to win every game because they're still playing for a pretty high seed in March, so I don't think that's really a motivation factor. I actually lean towards the Gales, Jim. I just think they're so awesome. And Oregon State, as much as I like them as a double-digit dog, I think the Gales have this one. So lean their way at 12.
Yeah, I lean that way too. I think they got their letdown game after Gonzaga out of the way with that close game at Marymount, and you get more of the emphatic punch you in the mouth Gales today.
Uh, in the ACC, once again, lots of ACC questions. Clemson and Virginia. Well, of course, Jim, for our selfish futures, we would love the Who's to pull this one out. But Clemson's freaking good. And I don't think any team can beat this team besides Duke in the ACC right now, the way they're playing. They're laying 6.5, 7 on the road. I do lean Virginia at that price, but again, not a team I'm looking to fade in conference right now.
Yeah, I kind of lean Clemson. I mean, they've just been totally spot proof. Every game we were like, oh, this could be a letdown, tough road game. They just win by 20, win by 15. Did it at SMU, at Florida State, took care of Notre Dame. They're just adults. Like every guy's a fifth year senior. I was wrong on that team in the preseason. I lean Clemson.
All right, Jim. I know you have an opinion on this one. I do too, by the way. Whispers. Portland at San Diego from Andy Baseball. The Pilots are taking money up to 2.5, 3 some places in the market. Thoughts?
I took Portland -2 in the circuit contest, so definitely like them. Still kind of like them at 2.5, 3. They are a different team recently. Shante Leggins has kind of got this young core figured out, going the right direction. San Diego got down 30 at Washington State in the first half. I know they came back and I think lost by like 9, and it looks respectable, but they made a huge run in the final 5 minutes. I think that was a misleading final score. I like the Pilots, Kai.
Best bet. Portland -2.5 for Kai. I totally agree.
Love it.
Different team. San Diego is bad. Portland 2.5. If you can find it.
The Slim Jim.
Plenty of out there.
Jenny Craig Pavilion.
Yes, I prefer. By the way, I prefer 2.5, 15 -15 versus 3 -10. Just for yeah, 15. Yeah. Okay, Jim. 2 more from Ethan here. Then we'll go back to the rundown. Chattanooga and VMI in the Southland. Oh my gosh, the SoCon. Chattanooga's laying 9.5 on the road. They clinched the conference title already. Your thoughts?
Best bet, VMI. Let's go Keydets,
Oh.
fire up. I think I know VMI doesn't have anything to play for seeding wise either, but I think fading a team off the clinched outright mid-major title where they don't have any at-large considerations to worry about is a pretty decent spot. Dan Earl coached at VMI. Honor Huff and Trey Bonham played there. maybe there's revenge angle, or maybe it's, hey, respect the troops. We don't need to go nuts here. I think you get a little bit of a deeper rotation from Chattanooga. VMI still, let's beat the top dog. There's a little bit of incentive there. Love the Keydets plus 9.5 best bet.
That's right. We should spin our hats every time we make a best bet. So Portland
Okay.
minus 2.5, and
VMI plus 9.5. Yeah.
love it. Okay, last one before we go back to the rest of the rundown, and then more chat mob, of course, afterwards. A team that used to be the Weave's favorite team in the world, apparently, the Beach, Long Beach State. They've been a shell of themselves ever since they got rid of Monson. Who could have seen that coming? Certainly not us.
What?
Just kidding. Irvine laying 17 on the at home. Your thoughts on this game, Jim? I lean towards the Anteaters because the Beach is dead and the Anteaters are really good.
Yeah, Anteaters kind of refound it last game. Fullerton has that effect on people of letting them get right. They pummeled Fullerton. Irvine's not dead from an at-large perspective, but
Yeah.
it would really help them to improve metrics, to really crush teams. I think there is incentive for them to run this up if they get a chance at it. And obviously, Long Beach State is bad. So, yeah, I lean towards the Anteaters as well.
All right, perfect. I got plenty more chat mob questions holstered. Let's go back to the rundown and continue on our show with our Missouri Tigers.
MIZ, Kai, that's right. The Tigers headed to Vanderbilt for a rematch earlier this season when Mizzou got a nice 9-point home win over the Commodores. Vandy coming off maybe the best week in the entire country with a big, big home win against Ole Miss and then going on the road to Texas A&M, really finishing up the profile, the at-large resume that they needed. Took care of business there. So is this a letdown or is this a revenge spot? Kind of tough to figure. I think 3 people in the circuit contest took Vandy here, liking the SEC home team. Kai, lean the other way. Mizzou against these bubble caliber teams has been a juggernaut. Like they are
Yep.
destroying the Oklahomas, the Georgias of the world. Vandy's kind of small inside. Maybe Mizzou can't quite take advantage of that, but I like the Tigers.
Yeah, Jim, I do too. And hey, I don't bet on my team a lot. I did grab a little 1.5 when it was there somewhere in the market earlier. I know it's gone up a little bit. Yeah, Mizzou bounced back in South Carolina. They led the entire game, game 1. They got up 17. Vanderbilt did cut it with 1 to play, or excuse me, 2-1 with 5 to play. But Vandy can't stop Mizzou. It's the worst defense in the SEC. It's going to be a free throw party, a 3-point party, a transition party, Jim. Mizzou's going to be partying. And on defense, you got to stop penetration for Mizzou. You got to stop Vanderbilt penetration. You got to hope Jason Edwards and Tyler Nickel don't have one of their unconscious games from 3, which we have seen multiple times this season. Mizzou should win this game. Again, they're categorically more athletic, versatile. Vandy has won some massive home games, though. It's worth pointing out. The Ole Miss game, Kentucky, Tennessee, it's not a cupcake. Vanderbilt's very, very good. But this Mizzou team is still special, Jim. I truly think, to use Dennis Gates' lexicon, I truly believe that Missouri is one of the best teams in the country. So Missouri is the way I'm going in this game.
Yeah, big lean to the Tigers as well. I'm surprised to see the total 6 points under the KenPom projection, but the first game total was 156 and it soared under. So maybe there is something to that. They didn't play very fast, which was really surprising for these two teams. Maybe Mizzou mixing in some zone looks kind of threw Vanderbilt off balance. I would lean to the over, but I think there's enough evidence there for me to not jump in and go against a number that is well below analytical projections. So lean to Mizzou, lean to the over, not strong enough to take it. The other big one in the SEC, the fourth one we'll touch on here in our outline, Texas A&M, kind of reeling right now. They have lost 3 games in a row, including that home one to Vanderbilt, which I think was the most shocking of the bunch.
Yeah.
They're headed to Florida, who is also, Kai, off a loss. They got smacked in the mouth by Georgia early. They were down by 20 in that game. They came all the way back to take the lead in the final minute. And then a Blue Cane 3 broke their hearts. The race for the 1 seed definitely back on with them in Alabama and Tennessee. So you got the Aggies getting 9 on the road, Kai, in a physical matchup of a lot of bruising post players in this game. A total of 148.5. What do you see happening?
Yeah, the spread's just too high, man. Florida has the matchup edge, no question. Golden's going to scheme this team. They're going to sag off the 3. I bet he will scheme free throw shooters, fouling bad free throw shooters. A&M's the worst free throw shooting team in the SEC, one of the worst 2- and 3-point shooting teams in the SEC. Florida's front court, super deep, especially with Hand-Lockton back in the lineup. Condon is making his way back as well, came off the bench last game. They can at least compete on the glass, and without the boards, A&M can't really score. Again, horrible free throw shooting team, Again, I fully expect Florida to know Wilcher is the only guy that can shoot on A&M. Guard him, and everyone else, you live with what you get. Florida needs to hit. They need to hit threes. A&M allows the highest three-point attempt rate in the league. The Gators are a very poised, veteran backcourt team, can handle ball pressure, but 9 is way too high. Like Matt said, too cockroachy to lay 9. I agree. It's Aggies at that number. It's too physical. 9 points is too much. A&M is my lean there.
Yeah, and Florida can put the runs on you as they did against Georgia after they got down. But yeah, A&M's not going to be any sort of rollover. The style, I talked about them being awesome at home because of the physicality, but the style still does travel. They're going to get offensive rebounds. I just think they send you to the line a lot more, to the stripe, and Florida's going to have to connect on free throws, take advantage of those opportunities. Not enough for me to lay or take 9. This one's a total stay away from me. Had a hard time handicapping that game. Much stronger lean in the next one on our outline here, Kai. Creighton at Xavier in the Big East. Boy, Xavier's had a weird last 2 weeks. They played the bottom 4 teams in the conference. They took care of business, almost kind of sleptwalked through a couple of them, let teams back in the back door. But this is the big one. Xavier needs a needle-moving win. This is basically their last shot at it before the tournament. Creighton coming to town, a team that is a little bit limited athletically. Maybe Xavier can dominate them off the bounce. But Kai Kalkbrenner destroyed them in the paint in the first game. Probably going to do the same thing here. Mm-hmm. So does that keep you off the Musketeers, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, like you said, Xavier has like no quality wins, and somehow they're still alive. The 4 straight wins are great. They need this one to stay in the hunt. You're exactly right. Creighton still has the 2 seed to think about in the Big East Conference. Would love to be on the opposite side of St. John's, I'm sure, in that bracket. You mentioned game 1. Yeah, Kalkbrenner, 29 points. It was close the whole way, but it was controlled by Creighton. They hit their threes as normal, 11 for 25 from 3. Creighton's home court is excellent. And the Jays just counter Xavier's offense so well. They take away the 3 at an elite level, and they don't foul when they protect the rim with Kalkbrenner. They do both at such an elite level, and that's kind of Xavier's thing. If not open from 3, they're attacking the rim with Ryan Conwell, going to Fremantle. If they can't do that, I don't think they can score very efficiently. Kalkbrenner, you mentioned, massive edge on offense, post-ups, stick-backs, whatever you want to call it. Xavier, home court should be huge. Centos Center should be rocking. Toss-up matchup for me, again, the matchup is Jays. The spot here is certainly Xavier, and I understand why people would want to bet the Muskies.
Yeah, I lean Xavier pretty hard in this game. I think the spot matters, and there's definitely some matchup concerns with Kalkbrenner, but I think like Stephen Ashworth trying to keep Davion McKnight or Ryan Conwell in front of him on the perimeter is a problem. I think there's good enough scoring guards on the Xavier team to beat the drop coverage, win in the mid-range if you have to, shoot some floaters over Kalkbrenner. As we talk through it, Kai, kind of like the over. Seems like both teams can really score or going to have routes to it. You're going to need Xavier to hit some jumpers in the mid-range, maybe loosen up the floor, get some three-pointers open. But Ken Pom projects the pace at 70. Total of 149.5. I think he can get there with efficiency. So definitely lean to Xavier and to the over there. Last but not least on the outline, the San Francisco Dons are in the mix for an at-large. They are just kind of lurking at the edge of the party. They've done what they needed to do to stay in the mix and have this game mean something. They almost lost at Oregon State, but climbed back and were able to get that win in the midweek. We've seen this number come down. Kai, got it in the Circa contest at San Francisco plus 10. I'm now looking at Gonzaga minus 9. A total of 157. Questions about Newberry for San Francisco and his availability. But Kai, it's above the analytical projections of Gonzaga minus 7. Is that too high? What do you think?
Yeah, huge spread. Zags win here, pretty much punches their ticket. It'll be Q1. They're going to be top 10 in KenPom. There's no way they miss the dance if they win this game. The winner, 2 seed in the WCC tournament. That's huge. They get a bye to the semis. Very, very stacked bracket. Gonzaga's never not been in that position. We talked about on our podcast yesterday. So kind of crazy if they lose this one. The first game, Gonzaga controlled it. It was close the first half, but Gonzaga, it was theirs. They murdered the glass. They owned the interior. San Francisco just doesn't have the paint defense to stop the Zags inside. They need to hit shots. They have a smattering of shooters. Thomas, Williams, San Francisco has shooters, but Gonzaga is just categorically better. Spread's massive. And for such an important game for a home team that I think is very, very good, It's scary because the Zags can smash anyone, but I'd certainly have a strong lean on San Francisco getting 9.
Yeah, I liked it more 10, obviously. An extra point
Obviously.
makes sense. So I'm not going to lock it in as the best bet on the show, but I definitely do lean San Francisco here. It feels rather large for a big matchup for both teams. I mean, it means a lot for both sides. And San Francisco has competed at times with Gonzaga. Double checking, I believe. Yeah, this is at the Chase Center, which does suck. It's not at War Memorial, so less of the
Mm,
home pump
that
up
sucks.
atmosphere.
That really
Yeah,
sucks.
I don't like that they move it. I
Yeah.
think this is the second or third time that they've done that. I think that matters too for the handicap. It's not quite the same juice in the building. So perhaps that helps Gonzaga. I also like that Gonzaga unveiled Diane last game, the big man flying around, athletic shot blocker, dunker, a guy that just was not in their rotation before, a type of player they didn't have. Dealt with injuries most of the year, but promising young freshman. Maybe he continues to make an impact against the Dons front line. We'll see. Also lean to the over in that game, but no best bet. Okay, Kai, that is it for the outline. Let's get back to all the plethora of questions in the chat mob. Hit the like button on the video, quick thumbs up. It's very easy for you watchers and listeners, so please do that. It helps us out. What do you got for me, Kai?
Yep. And a reminder, join the Discord, Trilly Donovan's Discord. We're talking bets every single day. We'll be doing it all through conference tournament season and the NCAA tournament. Great time to join. $6 a month. That link's in the description. Also join the GOAT conference tournament pool with Stuckey. Fantastic pool, the best pool. $100 entry fee, but you pick every single game in the tournaments. We're rewarded for dogs. It's fantastic. Read the rules. It's great. It's in the description. Check it out.
It's the best scoring system I've ever seen
Awesome.
in a pool. It's perfect.
Okay, Jim, Mountain West. We're going to start off here from Adrian. Colorado State is hosting Utah State. The Rams are laying 2 against the Aggies. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's a tough spot for, going to that. It's a tough place to play, Moby, but I kind of lean Utah State, although it does seem like it's a little bit of a trend of teams being more result or more figured out the zone the second time through, I guess is what I'm saying. Colorado State scored super efficiently in the first one, 93-85 in a 68 possession game. So both teams really were able to score. Utah State had to shoot over 50% from three to win that game. So maybe I lean towards Colorado State there at home.
All right, a few people asking about this one from Bernie, and a lot of discourse in the Discord about this spread. And I agree. George Mason laying now 2 on the road at Duquesne. Duquesne took a little bit of money from the opener. I agree. I like George Mason here. Again, I fade Duquesne a lot this season, and it worked great at first, but not so much when A10 play rolled around. Duquesne's very feisty as a dog. It's short, though. George Mason and Tony Skinn, I think, are the superior team and coach. So lean towards Mason there at -2.
I was surprised by this movement. I know I saw Stuckey on Duquesne, which shocked me a little bit. There's a look ahead for Duquesne. They've got VCU coming to town. That's like the bigger game. That's on Tuesday. I would be a little surprised if they're. I mean, George Mason's tied atop the league, so they're not going to look past it. But
Right.
I don't know. It's just going to be a scrappy brawl the way every George Mason game is.
It's going to be gross. You don't need to watch this game. There's plenty of other games. Jim and the Patriot, Colgate hosting American. Colgate, screw you, first of all, for not winning the Patriot. They're laying 3 against American, a team that has a chance to win the Patriot. Them and Bucknell are in a race right now. Your thoughts on Colgate laying 3.5?
Yeah, numbers take down, and I agree with it. I like American here. I think they've been the better team this year. They took maybe a look ahead loss against Navy midweek. This was the game at Colgate, at the big bad bully of the conference, and they got to keep pace with Bucknell, who's got a little bit of an easier road game. So I like American. I just think they kind of show themselves as the contender this year, and Colgate hasn't quite been up to snuff.
Little Rock at SIUE, Jim, the Ohio Valley from Max. Little Rock, a dog, +2 on the road against SIUE. I lean Little Rock. I lean them almost every game in the OVC. I think they're still the best team in this conference. That's my lean. Nothing strong.
Yeah, lean that way too. Man, it was disappointing effort against playing for nothing Eastern Illinois this week. Got swept by them. So I don't know what their deal is.
Speaking of playing for nothing, well, Lamar might be. Lamar's hosting McNeese, +9. Tough team at home. McNeese, of course, not a team I enjoy fading. I understand they're not a stalwart against the spread in Southland play. Still by far the best team in this conference. I suppose I lean Lamar a little bit. McNeese has the 1 seed well wrapped up by this point. Can't make the tournament as an at-large. Lean slightly towards Lamar as a 9-point home dog.
Yeah, lean to Lamar too, but this isn't like the matchup the McNeese had trouble with. That was always Nichols that kind of messed up what Wade wants to do. So lean Lamar. They're still playing for the 2 seed against Nichols, but nothing super crazy strong.
For Matt, I have an opinion on this game. South Carolina and Arkansas. I like Arkansas money line here, guys. Pick +1. Yeah, they're playing much better right now than South Carolina. South Carolina's been tough at home. They've lost a lot of close games. This Arkansas team right now, different level with the way Nelly Davis has been playing, with the way Calipari's finally figuring it out. So Arkansas money line, I like them there.
Everybody's on South Carolina, Kai.
Are
That
they?
is literally half of the circa pool. Half of the 15 people are on South Carolina, like -1. I think it's a stinky line. It's a spot. It's kind of got all those things going for it. But I also looked at that and just thought, like, Arkansas is playing much, much better. I know it's kind of a letdown off the OT, but I lean Hogs too.
All right, from Taryn.
To Ted's point in the chat, Dero is a question mark for Arkansas. He matters, but
Yeah,
they did beat
didn't
Texas
matter
and
last
we're up
game.
10 like the whole game without him.
Yeah, right. I know they got lucky with the cover. They dominated that game against Texas.
Yep.
That was a late comeback. Trey Johnson. Stanford SMU. Jim, I like SMU here. They're coming from California. SMU just destroys the worst teams in the ACC. I'm not saying Stanford's bad, but if you're not named like Duke, Clemson, Louisville, etc., SMU usually has an advantage. I lean towards them. Excuse me. Boobie Miller still being out. I forgot that was the big factor. Boobie Miller being out gives me pause and makes me stay away. If he was in, total SMU bet. I did end up staying off it because of Boopy. Forgot about that point. I'm sorry for the lead.
Yeah. I like SMU quite a bit too, even without Boopy. It's a Q2 game. They play awesome in those.
Yeah.
Q1, they do not. Stanford 85th in the net, so 10 spots from being Q1. That's a Mustangs type of runaway game.
From Jamie Jim, America East, Bryant laying 1.5 on the road at Maine. That feels short, but Maine, man, don't underestimate the Black Bears. They've been very good this season.
Super feisty. This one's like kind of for the title, kind of, because if Bryant loses, they'll be tied with Vermont and lose the tiebreaker. So Vermont still has a chance to continue their streak atop this league. Bryant barely escaped UMass Lowell this week on one of the worst game deciding calls I've ever seen. It was phantom, completely, truly decided the game. Bad stuff there. But maybe this is the game Bryant was focused on all along. So kind of lean Maine, but not enough to take it. I think Bryant will be locked in.
In the WAC from Scott, we got Grand Canyon at Seattle. Seattle's taking money. Presumably that's because Tyon Grant Foster is out again for Grand Canyon. Still a 1-point spread. Even without TGF, I think Grand Canyon's the best team in the WAC. I have a slight lean towards them. However, Seattle, I believe, is the toughest travel in the WAC and probably the strongest home court outside of Utah Valley, maybe, and Grand Canyon. Slight lean towards Grand Canyon, even with TGF out at -1.
Yeah, nothing crazy strong for me there. I mean, Grand Canyon barely beat Cal Baptist without Daniels. That I just can't get that out of my head. That one bothered me.
Here's an interesting one. Again, a lot of discourse in the Discord about this one and in the chat so far. Utah hosting Arizona State. Utah is 7.5, 8-point favorites. We know they have an interim coach right now, Josh Eilert. We know Arizona State is walking wounded. They have like 4 or 5 scholarship guys. Bobby Hurley Jr. is playing minutes. Their 17-year-old freshman, Trevor Best, who I was trying to figure out if he's related to Travis Best forever. I still don't know. He was actually pretty good against BYU.
Big game. Big game.
7.5, 8, man, is a lot, but Arizona State probably deserves it with the scholarships.
I think Utah like kind of runs away with that one. I think Arizona State at home against BYU tournament team had like a little more juice. Now it's like, all right, our like 4 healthy dudes have to go to Elevation and play a giant team in Utah, like one of the tallest teams in the entire country. I think Utah runs away even without Craig Smith there with Eilert in charge.
In the Ivy, high drama. Dartmouth Brown, I believe winner gets the 4 seed in the Ivy, or at least gets in position. I don't think that's done yet. I suppose it's not done yet. But they move into the position for the 4 seed.
Dartmouth Brown. Oh yeah,
Dartmouth Brown. Yeah,
I didn't realize they were tied for second.
They fell. Yeah, somehow it's close. Dartmouth's laying 2. I had a pretty strong lean towards Dartmouth, Jim. I ended up staying off of it. Brown's been looking a lot better lately. And Dartmouth, I kind of surrender that they're good, but every time I watch them play, I'm still like, really? This team? Ryan Cornish looks like he should not play D1 basketball, and he's awesome. What are your thoughts?
He looks like a leprechaun, is what I think. I don't have much. I didn't do the Ivy in great detail today because the lines weren't out last night,
Yeah,
so I don't want to overcommit on response here.
fair enough, Jim. How about CSUN? CSUN and UC Santa Barbara. I'm trying to find the line real quick for you.
Dear Barbara. Yeah,
Can't
CSUN
find
got
it.
PJ Fuller back, which some
6.
would say is good, some would say is bad. But they competed with UC San Diego, who's been blitzing everybody. I know UCSD did cover, but it was by a point, point and a half. CSUN's really good. I think they win. You said it's 6?
6. Yeah. Yeah.
God, it's
CSUN's playing 6, 5.5. Yeah.
3 at Ken Palm. I don't
Mhm.
know. Maybe with Fuller back, that's a little too high because he's relatively inefficient. But
Imagine.
I trust CSUN more.
Imagine a couple years ago saying CSUN is laying 6 against UC Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
Your eyes would explode out of your head. Come on. Okay, BYU and West Virginia from Rock Drums. BYU laying 10.5. Woo. They've been really good lately. It's true, and this is a really tough travel for West Virginia. I still think that's a lot of points, Jim. I lean towards the Mountaineers 10.5.
Yeah, we talked about how much we liked West Virginia as a dog to slow the game down last Saturday, and then Texas Tech pummeled them in a
Pummeled.
slow game and beat them by 22. So that didn't age all that well, but I still feel kind of the same way. Maybe more to the first half where elevation legs wouldn't hurt them here on this first leg. And West Virginia not an overly deep team, very reliant on small. But man, BYU is really rolling, so that's a scary fade.
Jim, Charles is dumpster diving in the chat. He's got Maryland Eastern Shore, Morgan State on the docket for us. Morgan State is laying 3.5, 4 on the road. I'll be honest, I have no opinion in this game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, not strong. I was working through the extra board today, and I didn't come up with much of a take on this game. Maybe slightly into Morgan State. I don't have all the seeding scenarios done in the MEAC here, but yeah, I tip my spinny cap to Charles here for his work there.
Yeah, go hunt in the extra board, man. Easier to win if you have a stronger play there than on these primetime games. East Tennessee State, ETSU laying 11.5 on the road at Citadel. I do think it's a bit high, but at Citadel is truly terrible. I have no interest in backing Citadel in this game.
Yeah, I think they've kind of rolled over, and maybe you get a little effort in the conference tournament the first game, but it looks like they're going to go over the regular season here and pretty convincing. And ETSU's got athletes and size to pummel them.
All right, we got 2 power conference games to finish us off before best bets. Houston and Cincinnati, Jim. Houston laying 13.5. They have the Big 12 wrapped up. The Bearcats winning at Houston would be pandemonium for the bubble, we'll say. I don't see it happening. I lean towards Houston 13.5, but I'm not betting it.
Yeah, this is like the hangover spot for the team that clinched the conference title. But do we think Houston gets hung over? Do you think Kelvin
No,
Sampson allows his guys to rest on their laurels? That
no,
doesn't
I don't.
strike me as something that happens. Houston has lost 11 straight, or excuse me, Cincinnati's lost 11 straight up at Houston, but they've covered 3 of the last 4. There
Yep.
was a time where Sampson was an auto bet against Cincinnati. It was like 8 in a row, 9 in a row. But they've at least been a little more competitive, and maybe the Houston spot is enough to keep Cincinnati competitive. And they've been playing better. They're the post dodgeball era Bearcats, but I'm
Yeah.
not getting in the way of Houston.
Worth noting that Matthew Cox, our colleague, the Yoshi costume guy, he says he absolutely loves Morgan. They go into Princess Anne and control this one. Okay.
I would be worried that's sarcasm from Matthew.
I would
So
bet
no
$1
one
million
take that as a
that's
strong
sarcasm.
no one take that as a strong recommendation.
Finally, Jim, Duke and Florida State. Cooper Flag is laying 22 points. My God, this team is. Let's hope they win. 22 points. I guess I lean Duke, but I'm not laying it.
It's a bit strong, but man, if you're going to see a letdown from Duke in the ACC, you thought it would be going from MSG down to Miami after a giant, massive win over Illinois,
Mhm.
and they beat Miami by 37 in a game where Tyrese Proctor gets hurt
Yeah.
and Malik Brown doesn't play. It doesn't matter. Proctor is out today, bone bruise per Pete Thamel. Malik Brown's still out with the separated shoulder, so they're a little shorthanded, but it kind of doesn't matter. It's like, oh, we're down a guy. I guess we'll put in Darren Harris and Isaiah Evans, who can both make 7 threes in a game in the blink of an eye. So it leaned to Florida State with the shorthandedness of Duke, but their depth is better than it typically is, and they could still win that by 40 if they want.
At the buzzer, we should talk about this one. I've seen it a couple times from Taryn, Indiana, laying 1.5, 2 on the road at Washington. Big game for the tournament, obviously for Indiana. Renew, I think, did travel with the team. I think he was out last game. Is that right? I have a
He
hard
missed
time
last
keeping
game.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. Lean Indiana, but good luck trusting Mike Woodson on the road.
Yeah, I don't want to lay points with Indiana on the road. And I also am not super psyched to back Washington, who is barely alive. They're kind of dead for the Big Ten tournament. They've got to win out and get a lot of help. I don't have interest in this game. It's too much of a coin flip.
Alrighty. By the way, Matt went to Indiana. Let's see what he thinks in the chat. So head over there. Okay, best bets. Here we go, Jim. I'll start you off. You've mentioned one of them, maybe two. Remind us.
Oh, you want me to start? Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You said I'll
Sorry.
start you off.
I'll
I
start
thought
you
were gonna
off.
lead off.
Yeah, you do
You
it.
silly goose.
You do it.
You silly goose. Yes, I've mentioned VMI plus 9.5 against Chattanooga. And in that same vein, I'm going to go with Hampton plus 7. Team at home who has actually been kind of feisty lately against Towson, who just clinched 1 seed and outright conference championship. Think you could get a little bit of the hangover game letdown type of effort there. Hampton a little bit more to play for in terms of coastal tournament seedings. So going with the Pirates plus 7. And Kai, let's Yar again, because I'm going Seton Hall. Double Pirates, double the fun. Plus 20 against St. John's. St. John's is pretty banged up, and they've played kind of a gauntlet lately against bigger teams, like the higher class in the Big East. They got Marquette on deck. I know they can clinch outright, or I can't remember what the exact clinching scenarios with Creighton at the top of the Big East, but they're right there for that. But all the banged up injuries they've got. Scott left the game and returned last game. Patino says Kadari Richmond's really hurt. Davon Smith's been banged up. RJ Lewis missed the game. Seton Hall's a pretty good double-digit big dog. I think they can hang around there. So Seton Hall plus 20, Hampton plus 7, VMI plus 9.5, and then the top of the show under 159 in Tennessee and Bama. Those are my 4 today, Kai.
Love it. Oh, Matt took one of my best bets. One of his best bets is Columbia minus 2, says Matt in the chat. His other one, doesn't count. I'm taking it. North Carolina A&T plus 10. Yes, Hofstra circling the drain. Sad. They seem checked out. Lost 6 of 7. And A&T is at least competing still, despite their shorthandedness. So Matt and I are doubling up on NC A&T plus 10. And then Presbyterian is my other bet. I took Portland earlier, by the way, minus 2.5. Presbyterian. I'm going Big South extra board. Minus 3.5. Massive game for the Big South tournament here. If Presbyterian wins, they get the 5 seed in the tournament. If they lose, they get the 8 seed. So it's a big swing. They avoid playing the opening round game. They've actually been playing great lately. They won at Longwood. They competed with Winthrop. They won at Radford. They won at UNC Asheville. So they basically just played 4 of the top teams in the league extremely close and or beat them. Presbyterian minus 3.5. A&T plus 10. Portland minus 2.5. That's it.
Love it, Kai. I just want to reiterate what Matt's saying in the chat, and you kind of said it. I don't think Hoff's just trying either. I think all those guys are like in the portal already.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right, Jim.
Well done. Well done, everybody. Matthew, thanks for your chat participation. And mostly thanks to the rest of the chat. Really lively day. March 1st, it's here. Big old Saturday. One more regular season Saturday coming up next week. March 8th, we'll be back here on the same channel. Best bets at 10 a.m. Central. Another spinny Saturday. Hopefully Matt's vocal cords have healed up by then. We'll also have a live pod on this YouTube channel on Friday, most likely. Maybe it'll move, but tentatively Friday, 7 a.m. Central as well. Check that out. Get in the conference tournament pool. Get in the Discord, the burner.